You ever witness someone get humiliated for simply not fitting a stereotype, and then watch karma unfold like a slow, beautiful avalanche? Yeah, that happened. And it didn't happen to just anyone. It happened to the daughter of the most powerful man in the sky. You think this is about a missed flight? No. This is about the price of a snap judgment and the cost of messing with the wrong quiet passenger at gate E1 Ford. IT started like any other afternoon at Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta. People rushing, babies crying, rolling suitcases screeching across linoleum, gate announcements blaring through half-broken speakers. It was airport chaos 101. And in the middle of all that, there she was, Dr. Zara Maliri, 27, fresh PhD in molecular biology, flying first class to London. Her parents had given her the ticket as a graduation gift. "You've earned the right to turn left," her dad said. She'd smiled at that, clutching her boarding pass like it was made of gold. She was dressed simple but sharp, black joggers, white sneakers, braided hair neatly tucked behind her headphones. She didn't look like money, but she looked like someone who belonged. Still, when she got to the gate, that didn't seem to matter. Karen Preston was the gate agent on duty, late 40s, stiff blonde bob, eyes like she'd been scanning people for trouble her whole life. She looked at Zara, then at the ticket on her phone, then right back at Zara's sneakers. "This is for first-class boarding only, ma'am," she said, like Zara had wandered into the wrong part of town. Zara stayed calm. "I know. I'm in seat 3A. Karen didn't even glance at the screen again. "You'll need to step aside. General boarding will be called shortly." You could feel the judgment roll off her like airport AC. Zara tried again, a little firmer. "This ticket is valid. Just scan it." Karen sighed, the kind of sigh that says, "I don't have time for this." Then she asked for ID and a credit card for a ticket already in the system. Meanwhile, the line behind her started to murmur. One guy actually muttered, "Just move aside." Zara stood her ground, but her voice cracked slightly. She'd spent years in labs handling microscopic particles with steady hands, but now her fingers trembled as she held her phone. The woman wasn't asking for verification. She was making a statement. "You don't belong here." And that's when Zara did what every child who's been coached on how to survive a moment like this does. She called her dad. "Hayes Bug, you at the gate? Ready to fly in style." His voice came through warm and cheerful. "Dad, I have a problem." What Karen didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Zara's father wasn't just some overprotective parent. He was Marcus Maliri, Deputy Administrator for Aviation Safety at the FAA, meaning the man in charge of the people in charge of the sky. He was in a meeting across town when the call came. In one motion, he closed his notebook, excused himself, and started making phone calls to airport security, to the terminal authority, to his internal audit team. Then he got in a black sedan and made his way to the terminal. Not with flashing lights, not yelling, but with the kind of energy that turns heads without saying a word. When he arrived at the gate, he didn't go to his daughter. Not yet. He went straight to the podium. Karen barely looked up. "Sir, the line's back there." "I'm not here to board," Marcus said coolly. "I'm here to ask why my daughter, Dr. Zara Maliri, was denied boarding for a first-class ticket she paid for." Karen blinked, then smirked. "Oh, you must be her father. She was causing a disruption." Marcus didn't flinch. "What kind of disruption?" She was belligerent. "The ticket wouldn't scan. Could be a fake. Happens all the time." "You're officially claiming that my daughter's ticket is fraudulent." Karen didn't back down. "Yes, that's correct. That was her final mistake." Marcus slowly reached into his jacket. Not for a wallet, not for a phone, but for a leather case. He opened it. Inside, a gold federal badge and his FAA ID. He held it out, steady. "My name is Marcus Maliri. I am the Deputy Administrator of Aviation Safety. What you've done today is more than a mistake. It's a federal issue." David Chun, the station supervisor, was called down. He tried to calm things down with phrases like, "We can sort this out after the flight," and "Let's not escalate." But Marcus had already escalated. Quietly, professionally, relentlessly. He asked for CCTV footage. He asked for boarding skin logs. And guess what? The footage showed Zara being calm. The logs showed no skin attempt on her ticket. None. Karen had never even tried. She had lied to her supervisor, lied to Marcus, lied to a federal officer. By the time the operations room confirmed everything, it was too late for backpedaling. Marcus didn't yell. He simply laid it out. You will initiate a formal complaint, a full audit. Every discrimination complaint filed in the past 3 years. Every one. Karen was suspended that afternoon, fired within a week. She tried to sue for wrongful termination. The judge dismissed it in less than an hour. Her name became synonymous with do not hire across the industry. But Marcus didn't stop there. He kept pulling threads, and behind those threads was a whole mess of rot. Over 24 discrimination complaints had been buried at that airport alone, all signed off by David Chun. He too was fired, this time not for one bad call, but for fostering a culture of bias. Global Voyager Airlines got hit with a $2.5 million fine. But that wasn't the real punishment. The real price? A binding federal consent decree that forced them to overhaul everything: training, policy, accountability. Gate agents could no longer act unilaterally. Every complaint now required a third-party supervisor. And that protocol? It got a nickname: the Mallory Accord. 6 months later, Zara was living in London, working in a lab that finally felt like hers. The memory of Gate E14 still lingered, but not like a wound anymore. More like a scar that reminded her of what she'd survived and changed. She got on a video call with her dad, and he held up the final copy of the new training manual. It's official, he said. Every single frontline employee's going through this starting next week. They even named one of the clauses after you. Zara smiled, her eyes misting. The Mallory Accord. That's really something. And it was. It wasn't just a personal victory. It was systemic change born from one Gate agent's petty cruelty, and a father who knew exactly how to wield the weight of justice. What happened to Zara could have happened to anyone, but not everyone has a Marcus Mallory in their corner. So let's talk about that. Was the fallout fair? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or did the system finally face a reckoning it had long avoided? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Gate agents hold that much unchecked power? And if this story hit you like it hit us, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe. The skies are watching. Are we? 6 months passed, and the name Mallory still echoed across airline boardrooms like a quiet warning shot. But for Zara, life had moved on, at least on the surface. Her days were filled with CRISPR experiments and late-night walks along the Thames. She rarely thought about Gate E14 anymore, until she got a call one Thursday morning from a name she hadn't heard in years. Hello, Dr. Mallory? This is Rachel Kim. I'm with the Civil Rights Review Board, Department of Transportation. May I have a moment of your time? Zara blinked. Sure. What's this about? It's about Karen Preston. For a beat, Zara thought she'd misheard. But Rachel continued. She's filed an appeal. Claims procedural misconduct during her termination. Says the Mallory Accord violated her due process rights as an employee. Zara almost laughed. You're joking. I wish I was, Rachel said dryly. Here's the thing. Because your incident triggered structural changes, her lawyers are trying to argue that your case was weaponized to justify policy overreach. Zara exhaled hard. So what do you need from me? We'd like you to testify. Not in court. It's an internal ethics panel. Off record, but influential. Zara hadn't expected to ever see that woman's name again, let alone defend the very system built on what she endured. But that night, she stared out the same window where she once watched the London rain and whispered to herself, they really think they can undo this. A week later, she was back in D.C., seated across from a semicircle of serious faces in government suits. The panel included Rachel Kim, a few senior ethics officers, and, unexpectedly, a retired judge named Clarence Monroe. He was older, slow-spoken, sharp as a scalpel. His presence signaled that this wasn't just internal cleanup. It was about precedent. The hearing started predictably. Karen's lawyer leaned heavily on the emotional distress card, claimed she was scapegoated by an administration seeking headlines. claimed Zara had weaponized identity to create public pressure, claimed that Marcus Mallory's involvement tainted due process. Zara didn't flinch. She listened, took notes, and when it was her turn to speak, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't quote legal codes. She just told the truth. Again, I didn't ask to be humiliated. I didn't want to be a symbol. I just wanted to board a flight. Then she paused, looked at each person on the panel, and continued. But if someone abuses power in a place where the public is most vulnerable, like an airport, and they face no consequences, what message does that send? That you can lie, discriminate, and only worry if the passenger has the wrong father? There was silence in the room. And then Clarence Monroe leaned forward. Dr. Mallory, if you had not been related to Mr. Mallory, what do you believe would have happened? Zara didn't blink. I would have been escorted out by security. Maybe missed my flight. Maybe made the news. Maybe not. But what's worse, I would have walked away thinking I had no right to be angry. Later, as the panel adjourned and she stepped into the hallway, a woman in a gray pantsuit approached her quietly. I was at gate E14 that day, she said. I was 2 people behind you. I didn't say anything, and I still regret it. I just want you to know, you weren't alone. Zara stared at her, surprised. I'm Amanda Chun, the woman added, and Zara's eyes narrowed in recognition. David Chun was my uncle. After he got fired, our family kind of stopped talking about it. But I joined a different airline. I'm in HR now. And your case? It changed the way we train our agents. There it was, a twist Zara hadn't seen coming. The niece of the very man who had tried to bury her case was now helping rebuild the system he broke. That means more than you know, Zara said. Back in London, months passed again. The appeal was denied. Karen's attempt to frame herself as the victim had backfired badly. But the real surprise came not in the courtroom or on the news, but in Zara's inbox that a small airline in Canada, Aurora Skies, had quietly adopted the Mallory Accord. Then another. Then an international carrier in Germany. Slowly, globally, her story was becoming policy. And yet, not everyone was happy. One rainy Sunday, Zara logged into her inbox to find an anonymous message that read, "You ruined a woman's life over a misunderstanding. Hope you're proud, princess." She stared at the screen, calm, tired, but clear-eyed. She replied simply, "I didn't ruin her life. She did. I just refused to let her ruin mine." That same week, Zara spoke at an aviation ethics forum. She didn't lecture. She didn't preach. She just shared. You know what's exhausting? Having to prove you belong every time you show up somewhere. At work, at school, at 35,000 feet. Some people walk through this world with a welcome mat under every footstep. The rest of us, especially Black women, are told we need to earn our right to breathe in public. That's not just unfair. It's unsustainable. She ended with a message not about revenge, but responsibility. My dad had power, and he used it. But justice shouldn't depend on proximity to power. If your system only works when someone important complains, then it's not a system. It's a privilege. As she stepped off stage, the applause was quiet at first. Then it built. And in that moment, Zara realized she had stopped being the girl at the gate and become the woman at the microphone. What started as humiliation became legacy. What began at a boarding gate ended as a global policy shift. But the question remains, if Karen Preston hadn't picked the daughter of Marcus Mallory, would anything have changed at all? Let us know in the comments. Do you think the system truly changed, or just got better at hiding? Was the Mallory Accord justice, reform, or just damage control? If this story made you think, drop a like, share it, and hit that subscribe button, because sometimes real justice doesn't shout. It just keeps showing up, flight after flight.